Airial, if I could marry her brain, it would be amazing.
If you need anything technical.
She is down to earth. She's fun. She's very easy to network with.
Anything systems oriented.
Just anything web dev techie that I don't understand, Airial has swooped in and fixed. And she's my accountability bulldog.
She is a queen.
Anything infrastructure related.
She is helpful, and she helps guide and answer all your questions that you have about growing your business and networking and getting started.
She gives me life. She just gives me life.
Airial Reynal is your girl. Welcome to the TrepTECH podcast with your host, Airial Reynal.
I just want to marry her brain. She's a genius.
Love it. Love it. I love that intro. I'm not going to lie. I love that intro. What's up, everybody? Scott Doucette here. I am the co-host of the TrepTECH podcast, and I am here with the lovely, the genius, the one whose brain people want to marry, Airial Reynal. What's going on, Airial?
Hey, Scott. How are you?
I'm good. Definitely on the upswing. I had a rough week last week, and I'm not going to get into it, but it feels good to be back in my studio. It feels good to be recording again. We've got some juicy stuff to talk about, don't we?
We do. So where should we start?
I think it's pretty simple to say that this episode is, if you haven't done it, you can't sell it. What are your thoughts on that?
Let's go for it. This may be a rant episode. Just let you know.
I think they're all turning into rant episodes. So yeah, it's a simple premise. Like, you can't sell something you yourself have never done. You can't provide a service if you've never been a customer of that service, in my opinion, or you're not an expert on it. What are your thoughts there?
I agree, because thinking back, like when I had my candle business, and I thought about turning it into a direct sales company and trying to figure that out. So what I did was I joined a direct sales company that sold home fragrance to see how the structure worked and everything. And in everything I do, even now, it's as a coach, whenever I get ready to offer a program, I'll take a program that's similar, not to steal or plagiarize or things, but just to see how the flow goes and to see if that flow works for me and like my attitude and personality. And I've had coaches, so I can coach. I've done everything that I say that I do now. So I agree. Expert that's up for grabs. But at least, because all you have to do is be like one or two steps ahead of whoever you're providing the services to. But whatever you do, do it with integrity. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I know we can get into a whole episode just on integrity alone, but this is a splinter off of integrity. I think this is one way to be out of integrity, is to sell something that you yourself have never done. And I'd like to share a story, if that's cool with you.
You're going to share it anyway.
Absolutely. I think I think it's a good thing.
I don't even know why you ask.
So not too long ago, I had a gentleman approach me. He is really amped up on business, loves the idea of business, wants to be in business. And he reached out to me and he was like, hey, man, I'd like to talk to you about podcasting and everything that goes into podcasting. So I've learned that if someone wants to be a customer, they approach me a certain way. They'll reach out and say, hey, Scott, I'd like to start a podcast. What goes into it? And they always have that I'd like to start in there, or like, I'm thinking about starting and I just don't know what I'm doing and all that stuff. And they come to me because they trust me, right? So this lad asked, I want to know everything that goes into podcasting. So I asked him, is this as a customer or as a service provider? Because clearly the answers are going to differ. And he replied back with, he wants to offer it as a service. And immediately I just said, no, no, until you've had a podcast, until you've been a host, until you've edited it yourself, until you've done all of those things, booked your own guests, been through the trials and tribulations, I don't think you're experienced enough to do this for other people. And, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's got audio background elsewhere that he could bring to the table like I did when I started. But for the most part, and keep in mind too, before I started, I had a podcast for a year before I started cutting other people's shows. So I had been there, I'd done it. And I don't know, just something about the conversation just didn't vibrate with me. I immediately was just like, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you my business model, my price points, my anything. Because even if I gave you everything in the world that we use, I could give you my model. I could give you all the course material. I could give you my pricing guide. I could give you, the processes and procedures, the operations that my producer uses that I wrote. I could give you all that. You'd still suck at it because you've never been a podcaster.
Right. And I don't even think this person has audio experience. Like, for instance, I have audio and video experience, editing and stuff. I did it while I was in the military. But I was like, no, this is too tedious of work. I don't want to do it. I'm going to let somebody who specializes in this do it.
Well, yeah.
And I know the person who you're talking about, and they don't even know how to do an intro and outro.
Okay. So like,
how are you going to offer that service if you don't have the first idea of where to start? So I really think it was a backdoor kind of, I'm going to steal your presentation so I can make a presentation and make it sound like I can do all this stuff.
And I mean, heck, like I have given, and there is no, I have no qualms about this. There's no backdoor about this. Like I've given other producers my stuff. Producers have asked me, hey, Scott, what are you charging this year? And I tell them, and they will make their prices the same.
Yes, and I get that. I get that.
And they'll ask me, hey, I'm doing this in my post-production right now. Is there something I could be doing differently? And I'll get in there and I'll pick apart their procedures and I'll be like, yeah, no, this is great. This is great. We don't even do that. I'm going to do that. Here's what we, and we learn from each other. The difference is these people are already producers. They're already people who know audio inside and out. So I don't mind sharing my stuff with them. Even though they're technically my direct competition, there's enough podcasts out there for everybody to edit. So I'm not worried.
They came to you as really like a coach, a consultant, and upfront.
Yeah, really upfront. Like, hey man, I'm struggling with blank, or I want to raise my rates to blank, and I'll give it to them, just no problem. But they're podcasters, they're doing it. And that's, I think, the biggest thing for me is if you have not done something, you cannot sell something. And I think about Jesse, my producer. Jesse doesn't want to sell production. He's been producing for a year. He could produce for himself if he wanted to. He doesn't want to go do all the client presentations and stuff, which means he's perfect where he's at and he enjoys it. But if he tomorrow looked at me and said, hey man, I want to strike out on my own, can you help me? You're damn right I'd help him build a business. I would go in direct competition with that boy. I'd still beat him.
And then I help him with his branding.
I'd still beat him just because I've got more time in sales, more time in, business. My name is more trusted and everything. But he's building up a nice, beautiful resume in Podcast Bay Productions that he could go take anywhere he wants. He could go to another production company someday if he wants.
And that's how you do it, actually. I mean, intern or work for somebody, but be honest with them if you're looking to possibly do your own thing. But work in the industry, work in that arena first in some form or fashion so you can get the inside look, just like you said earlier.
Yeah, but just like you did with direct sales, right? But before he asked me for a single penny, he asked me for an internship. He asked me for a bunch of free work to cut his teeth on.
Mm-hmm.
And once he finished cutting his teeth on it, then he was like, yeah, I actually love this. This is the product I churned out. What do you think? And I hired him on the spot.
Yeah, I was a little privy. So for those listening, I was privy to the conversation that Scott had with this lad, as he calls it. And at first, it was just controversial. Because, Scott, I'm big with leveraging relationships, mutually beneficial relationships. So I want to kind of show the line of where it goes from competing and using and collaborating and leveraging. Because we were feeling that this conversation was more of using. Also because the questions asked were contradicting one another. It just didn't feel right. Because I know first they asked you, what are your prices? And then you asked if it was service provider or what, and they said service provider. And then they mentioned that they just wanted to record the people and send it to you for production. But none of that added up to the questions people normally ask when it comes to podcasting. Because normally I'll have people ask The first thing they ask me, what equipment? Where do I get started? What all I need? What equipment? So I help them with the equipment, and then I tell them about your services. I tell them I'm on your team and stuff. So that's like that warm handoff, somebody who I trust and they trust me. So they're like, okay. But it wasn't like that this time.
Well, no. And here's the issue I have, right? Is like, there's an issue with integrity in that, you know, I've handed business off to people who I know are amazing at what they do. And I've seen them drop the ball. Okay. That's a gap in integrity. That's a little different. They're selling something that they have done. They're just not delivering. Okay.
Right.
That's
and
column
that,
A.
And that looks bad on you too. So that's another.
It does. And I'd love to get into the integrity of business with you because that would be fun. But column B is, I've never done this before. I'm going to get all the information to sound like I know what I'm talking about so I can go pitch people and then figure it out as I go. And while I'm okay with entrepreneurs doing that, I'm not okay with entrepreneurs and business people taking people's money and duping them and not knowing what goes into even the bottom level of the process. Because if I asked that lad, what mic are you recommending? He wouldn't know. Okay,
Right.
how long does it take to edit an episode? He doesn't know. Okay, how do you run noise reduction on an episode? He doesn't know. So like, that's my issue, is that you can't sell something that you know absolutely nothing about. And if he was serious about wanting to do this, he would have already done some research. He would have come to me with very specific questions like, hey, I just took on an editing job. I don't know what I'm talking about. How do I do this, this, or this? That's
Right.
different than, hey, man, I'm about to walk into a networking meeting and I want to sell them on something I've never touched before. How do you set up a podcast start to finish?
And didn't even take the time to Google it. You really could have Googled it. And then if you didn't get the information, which the information is out there, but if you didn't get the information in a way or fashion that you could understand it or that it was all together, then come to you and say, okay, I've looked it up and blah, blah, blah. Can you explain it better to me or whatever?
Yeah, I've had a lot of run-ins in the past with this, is like, because I'm friendly and I'm open and I'm all about people winning. So I've had guys approach me over the years and, get real close to me, buddy up with me and ask me for my secret sauce. And my biggest issue is I want to make sure that if I'm going to share something with someone, it's going to benefit their clients big time. So I'm not just going to go give someone something if I feel like they're not going to be able to make a bunch of people happy with that information. If they're just going to use it for selfishness, no. I'm not about churning out non-professionals anymore. So I'm not going to give people half the equation and then watch them go rip off or hurt a bunch of people.
Right. And this is an art. It is something that you're constantly learning when it comes to entrepreneurship and selling. For instance, I have a story. I was with, is it all guys? No, I'm not going to say it's all guys, but I was with this fella. I'm going to say fella. I was with this fella and we were doing an experiment we were talking to a young lady who has her own business. She's a solopreneur, and we were selling our services to her. Theoretically, I do everything that he claims that he can do. However, I have several years of experience and education and everything. He had known this lady for a while, for at least a month or two. I just met her like 2 hours prior to that. So he first started selling. She asked him a question like, how can I become more digitally present or something like that? And then he started with, well, we can do videos and we can do PNGs and JPEGs, high resolution, and we could do this and that and blah, 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 blah. And then because she knew it was an experiment, she looked at me. I said, now ask me the same question. And she asked me. And I said, first of all, tell me about your business. I know you started telling me about it. I want to hear more about it. And she talked and talked and talked and told me her whole life story pretty much. And then based on what she said, I said, okay, so it sounds like you don't want to use an e-commerce thing because of the certain e-commerce platforms, because of the fees and the holds and the regulations behind it. So have you considered like a Facebook store? You'll still pay a fee, but you have the flexibility of selling things out of your office and online. and you don't have to keep stuff online and can't sell it if somebody walks in the store, that kind of thing. And then I let her know that, you know, Facebook, I'm an advocate for Facebook marketing, Facebook and Google. I love the two, and how to leverage that without paying like a ton of money. And then another thing that she mentioned was how she does a craft and how she loves doing that because it helps her calm down from her PTSD. So that told me that she would never think about selling that company, like building it and then selling it off. And I was like, it's important to her. It's something that is a heart passion. So you got to listen to things like that and talk to her in those terms so that she understands how it's beneficial to her. Nobody cares about 780 pixel, blah, 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 blah. When he was saying it, I understand it, but it like glazed over me.
It's the technical. The technical doesn't matter. People want to know, how can you change my life, not what goes in it.
Right. And I told her, I said, for instance, and because she looked at me, she was like, can you do that? I said, yes. She was like, can you do videography? I said, yes. I won't physically do it, but I have a team that can. And that's another thing. I know my team and who I can reach out to. And she was just asking me, can you do that? I was like, yes, I can do all of that. And here's some of the footprint to show where I've done it before or where my team has done it before. And for instance, like with the pictures, he was like, we can do high resolution pictures with PNGs and banners and blah, blah, blah. I said, what we can do is capture the beauty of your craft, because this is just amazing. And it was. I was like, this is just freaking amazing. We can capture the beauty and put it out there so people know what it is you do, and also share your story, because your story is very compelling on how you got into this and why you continue to do it. So needless to say, she wants to hire me.
Yeah, and that's with your competition sitting right there in the room, because, and you're a branding expert, okay? You understand branding, you understand how to make, like, you could take Podcast Bay, and even though my branding is pretty underground and people know who I am and where to find me, I'm pretty confident you could take us like next level shit. Okay. I've never asked you to do it yet, because quite frankly, I'm still cozy with the word of mouth and the referrals. Like, we're already
and you know what? It's fun to see the different aspects, because me, I have the brand, all of that stuff. You have the Podcast Bay logo / brand, but you don't have like a website. Well, we have a landing page now. And
which
just
you set up.
Right. But just seeing the difference. But I can tell people as like a case study, like, you don't have to have everything that I have, but if you're going to do bare bones, it's still a process and a way to attack that, because it's word of mouth. And how do you leverage that word of mouth?
Yeah.
And it's by having integrity and serving your clients, like you said.
Yeah. And so, like, my brand is very, like you said, word of mouth. It's almost like a friend whispers to a friend, whispers to a friend, which I love, because that, to me, that's very pirate-like. You know, pirates were notorious not because they were pumping out photos of themselves, but because someone else was, right? Wanted. So that's kind of what happened with us, is now people, they want us to work. We go through a referral network of very trusted people. Not everyone gets to refer business this way, because quite frankly, not everyone's worth working with. But one of the things that drives me nuts is when I see like a YouTube expert, and you go to their channel and their YouTube channel is brand new and they have nothing. Like, I know a little bit about YouTube, right? So as I'm going through, I'm reading their descriptions, and there's hacks that I know that they're not using.
Right, exactly.
Or
same thing with the person I was talking about.
Yeah, when you see a digital marketer and they're like, oh man, like, I'm really good at social media marketing, and their Facebook page has 12 likes.
Yeah, but even, and like with this person, on the Facebook profile, it said, welcome to my Facebook page, and just an email address. And it wasn't like a corporate email address. It was just a Gmail address. And I said, this little piece of real estate right here, you could leverage the fuck out of it. And you call yourself a social media marketer, and you're not even leveraging the fuck out of this little piece of real estate. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
And I said, and secondly, it's a Facebook profile, not page. I said, profile is where people friend you. Page is where people like you. Group is where people join you.
Yes. And like in the same vein, I've had people who have been through 10 years of recording experience, right? They go to like recording universities and recording colleges, and they come out and they ask me for help on the business end, and they're 150 times better at the art than I am. But they suck as business people because they've spent all their time learning the art and they don't know how to market themselves, right? And so those people, I have no issue at all being like, hey, no problem. Here is the entire business angle. Just don't promise anything you can't deliver, because I know that the depth of their skills and knowledge, it will take their marketing and business and promises they make forever to catch up to what they know.
So that's what it is. This person sucks at business and at the art of what they so-called say that they offer, and they're not willing to listen and leverage relationships.
It just sounds like someone's trying to, or a couple people at least, I brought up a few in this example, but it just sounds like a lot of people are so quick to win the race that they don't even want to run it. And I mean, we all start at the start line. We all start at the start line. The difference is I'm actually going to run the race. I'm going to build the muscles. I'm going to train months before the race. I'm not going to show up on race day at the finish line and pretend I won.
Right. Or show up and jump on somebody's back. And when they win, you're like, yeah, I won too. No, you did no work whatsoever.
Well, yeah. And I know there's people out there listening to this who may be in this camp. You know, maybe you are pretending that you're really good at a service so that you can make money. And maybe that's working for you to a degree, but you're finding yourself stressed out. You're finding yourself struggling. You're finding yourself. Perfect example is if a business has been around for like 2 or 3 years and has 0 testimonials, and I've heard nothing about it because customers aren't talking about it, chances are you don't know enough about what you're selling to make people happy. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you're gonna make somebody mad. Oh my goodness. First it was what is an entrepreneur versus a entrepreneur versus self-employed. Now you just said that. Oh,
look, I'm here to make people mad. If this is the motivation you need to get the fuck off the bike, walk back to the start line, get back on your fucking bike and pedal it properly, good. Because it takes a certain quality of human being. It takes dignity. It takes respect. It takes hard work. But most of all, it takes honesty. You need to be honest about where your skills are at and what you can do for people. You have to have done the thing before you can sell the thing. I'm not going to go sell fucking cooking classes tomorrow. Are you kidding me? I can cook.
But you can cook.
I'm not a professional chef, you know, like I can cook, yes. And I might be able to teach, I don't know, somebody how to scramble an egg, but I'm not going to charge to teach people how to cook. I am not there yet. I'm not adept enough at cooking to say, yeah, I'll teach you how to cook $40 an hour. You know, like, that's not where I'm at. Could I be in a year or two if I focused on it? Yeah. But I'm not going to jump out the gate right now and go, hey, Chef Ramsay, Gordon Ramsay, can I have your recipes, your pricing guide, and, you know, like just could you give me everything that goes into your business so that I can go into restaurants and sell them my cooking services?
Oh, and start my own show.
He's going to look at me and say, have you ever scrambled an egg? Yes. Do you scramble it right? No. Fuck you. You know, like, and that's my point is like, I'm very aware that like, there's a reason I don't do 100 things. I'm good at podcasting. What do I sell? Podcasting. You know, and to your
actually, you sell more like time and peace of mind.
Yeah, I sell a breath. I sell a minute to breathe to people. But what do I provide, I guess? I provide podcasting services. And like entrepreneurship, right? Like you said it yourself, expert is up for grabs. I do not consider myself a business expert. However, I do consider myself a business student, and I consider myself someone who has failed enough times to be able to teach people not to do the same failures, which is why when you invited me,
I love that.
Yeah, when you invited me to come on TrepTECH, I wasn't sitting there going, oh my God, I don't know enough. I was like, you know what? No, mind you, it took me a few minutes to really get comfortable with the idea. Because you know me, you throw an idea at me and I'm like, no, immediately.
Yeah.
But I'd rather say no and think about it than say yes and be in over my head, right? And so I thought to myself with TrepTECH, like, can I actually sell business advice? Can I confidently give business advice? Up to this point, yeah, sure.
And really, it's not just selling business advice. It's like opening the curtain so people can see behind the scenes of the journey we've been through over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years in business.
Now, if you were to ask me, hey, can you provide my audience with the materials necessary to pitch a large corporation? No, I've never done that. So no, I can't. And
But
I'm
I
not
could
going to.
find somebody who can.
But I will send you to one Mrs. Jessica Lorimer, and she will sell the pants off of that corporation. You know what I mean? Like, that's how that
Right.
works, is like, I can't, let me introduce you to my friend, and I'm not going to take money off the front at all because I have nothing to do with it.
Right.
If my friend wants to offer a referral fee to me in the back end, I'll take that nice and quiet. Customer doesn't have to know that I got a referral fee. You know, it's just that full circle. I send you a person, you get the business, I get the money, everyone is happy. But even if I didn't get the money, I don't care.
But you trust that person who you're sending people to as well, because you know the quality and integrity of their work.
Because they've done it and I've seen them do it, you know, like that's what it comes down to. It's like, if you can only draw stick figures, don't tell someone you can paint a beautiful landscape of their cabin. You know, if you can't build an intro and outro yet, you are not ready to be a podcast producer. You can't offer that. If you have a digital footprint of 12 people, you might want to use your own marketing expertise to build that up to 12,000 and then sell it to people. You know, like, because you are your own best case study. When you came to me for your podcast, where did I send you? I sent you to mine.
Right.
How does this sound, Airial? Do you like the quality of this? Yes. Okay, you're in. You know, like, I had my own case study. You with the veteran woman.
Yeah.
I asked, like, I laughed at you. I made fun of you. Ha ha ha, you have 40 different brands. And then I went, holy shit, wait.
This is something she's actually good at.
If
and
I
you
look
know
at,
what?
you've
When
done
I
it.
was working with that person, I was like, wait a minute. Am I doing the same thing? But then I realized I do have like a core message for every brand that I've created. There's a reason behind it. And for me, when I create a brand, it's that core message that's in mind when I'm putting the font together, when I'm putting the colors together, when I'm designing it. It's like, I want people to have this feeling when they come in connection with this brand. So this is the core message. This is the person I'm targeting, I'm speaking to, and all of that. Not just, oh, I'm throwing this together because it looks cute and I'm going to call this another business.
Well,
no, it's a reason.
And a branding expert will know that, whereas someone who wants to be a branding expert won't. When I go to the veteran woman, what do you think I think as someone who just goes to the veteran woman page?
I don't know. What do you think?
I'll tell you
that it's about women and veterans?
Yeah, automatically. But then I go, oh my God, there's a woman of color, a veteran, strong, smiling. So it's not like a depressed veteran. And I see the colors, it's patriotic, it's proud. I see this like crazy Phoenix logo. So it's like a rebirth type of thing. And then I kind of browse around and I see your stuff and I realize that smiling woman of color up there on the banner is empowering other veterans. And I get a feeling. I start beaming with pride. I start I get a feeling. I'm not looking at the veteran woman logo going, I wonder how many dots per inch are in this thing, how many dots per pixel. I wonder how many, what's the resolution? Is this high resolution or low resolution? Is this a PNG or a JPEG?
Right.
I don't care. That's not what a brand is. Like when I go to your brands, I get a certain feeling. The Rebel Revolution, honestly, the feeling I get from the Revolution as a man who's been a rebel his whole life is like, aw, she's stepping into herself. This is beautiful.
And that's what it's about. That is what the whole brand is about. Is like, fuck the bullshit. Fuck the status quo. Let's love ourselves and step into our own power. So, yeah.
When I get to the TrepTECH brand, I'm like, okay, there's green, there's blue, there's white. It's clean. They're going to be teaching me some things about business. Great. What the fuck is a trap? But, all that aside, branding, so you can sell branding. I know podcasting, so I can sell podcasting. I'm not going to go to you and be like, Ariel, can you sell me guitar lessons?
No, no.
Man, I've been playing
I'm not
guitar.
even gonna try.
I've been playing guitar for like 23 years already. I've been playing guitar for 23 years and I still won't teach someone a lesson because I am not good enough yet.
And you know, see, the thing I worry about is people who are listening that think, oh, I can't offer this because I'm not good enough yet. It's a difference between having that negative self-talk of I'm not good enough yet and just going out there without any experience or anything whatsoever. That's when it comes down to the integrity part for me.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're a step or two ahead of whoever you're teaching and you don't blow yourself up like, oh, I've played guitar for the president of the United States. No, just say, I've been doing it for 20 years off and on. I'm not an expert, but based on where you are right now, I can teach you some skills. I can teach you how to read the notes. I can teach you how to strum or string or whatever you do with a guitar with me.
I could teach you Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple.
There we go.
Like, I could teach you Oasis, Wonderwall. No, but when I look at that whole thing and I just think like, and I'm glad you bring that up because I can be a bit of a direct person and I can be a bit of an asshole and I can discourage people and not mean to. Don't lie to people. That's all. Don't make yourself sound smarter than you are. If someone comes up to you, like, let's say you want to sell podcasting and someone comes up to you and like, hey man, that podcasting thing sounds interesting. How many have you done? None. Have you, do you have any sample work for me? No. Do you have any, like, you have to have something to show and you've got to be honest. Like, Ariel, when I pitched you on my first one, I literally told you, I've got 2 clients. That's it. But here is my portfolio to now, which consisted of my show and my 2 clients.
Right.
That's it. Now I have 38 shows under my belt since then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's an ass load of work in a short period of time, And
then when people come to me, I tell them, like, from the research I've done to start the Veteran Woman, the first podcast I had, what I decided to use as my platform, like my recorder and everything. And I tell them my journey and the things that I've learned in and out throughout that journey. And I tell people like, okay, yes, I have this equipment, but if that's not in your budget right now, especially when you're starting, you could start with this. And I have a producer, which you technically don't have to have, but if you don't want to worry about this, and this, then go to this producer and here I can introduce you to him and he can tell you what all goes into what he does and how that saves you time and headache and everything.
Well, yeah, because people approach you because of the Veteran Woman podcast all the time. Mm-hmm. And I could easily say, like you could easily say, yeah, sure, I'll do that for you for the money. First off, do you want to? Second off, should you? And all
I would do is send them. If I take the money, I would become more like a project manager. I'll take the money and then send it to you, check for quality assurance and everything, give it back to him. So I'd be the one to interface with you, but that's like a whole other aspect of it, outlook of it. They just know I need help. I don't feel like trying to find all these people, trying to interface with all these people. Ariel, just do it for me. Be my project manager, my business manager. I know you're going to find the right team. You're going to check for quality. Here's the money. And then boom. And then I take care of all that, the back end stuff.
When I hired my new editor, my new producer, I made very crystal clear sure that every single person who worked for me knew that there was another person stepping into my team. I didn't have to do that. I could have been real quiet about it and made everyone think it was still me editing. Mm-hmm. Now, when I did that, you should have seen the amount of people going, oh, that's great. You're still going to edit my show though, right? Every single client. Every single client.
I found out you didn't.
No, I didn't. I said, I'll be the last set of ears on it, I promise.
No, I said, I don't care how big you get, Scott. You are the only one that's editing and touching the Veteran Woman podcast. You said, okay. And then a few weeks ago, I realized Scott didn't edit it. Okay.
No, Jesse did his work and I went in after him and fine-tuned everything and made sure that, see, he edited for a while. For a good year, he edited only and I produced. Now,
Wait a minute, what's the difference?
editor takes out ums, ahs, clicks, pops, background noise, that kind of thing. A producer goes in and makes sure volumes are okay, reduces noise, makes sure, like, just makes everything sound really good, takes the
Shit,
harsh
see,
S's off.
you just taught me something.
Right? See, you weren't qualified to produce podcasts. The best you could have done was edit. But like, that's my entire point, is like, I told everyone I've got a new guy coming in. He's going to be cutting his teeth, but you're still safe with me. I'm not giving you to an amateur. I'm teaching someone else. When I brought my show notes writer in, same thing. Now in my business, people pretty much know that these two people are doing the work. I'm tying a bow on it at the end and selling the brand Podcast Bay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm quality assurance and marketing and sales. That's my job here at Podcast
Mm-hmm.
Bay. How many times do I talk about Jesse and Jacqueline? It's constant. It's constant.
The time. I would be jealous if I wasn't the host of this show and you didn't talk about them all the time, and you do talk about me. So yeah. But
Yeah.
Jacqueline and Jess are amazing.
Well, yeah. And the reason why I talk about them so much is that I think people deserve to know that it's not me necessarily working on their show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like there's a trust factor there. It's like they know Podcast Bay is a team. They're going to feel a lot more comfortable knowing who these people are, right? And so if you're going to interface with someone, you know full well, as long as you're honest right from the get-go and say like, yes, I'm going to manage your podcast, but I'm going to send it over to my producer, Scott, and he's going to do what he's good at. He's going to give it back to us, and we're going to, you know, market it and publicize it and do all that stuff. But I'm not the one touching the dials.
I need to put that on my service offers.
See, and because you were upfront about it, Scott, you can send me as many podcasts as you want, Airial. I trust you. I know the people you get in are going to be the real deal. I know there's going to be money at the end of the rainbow for everyone. But I also know that the people who come to you leave happy.
Yeah.
They don't feel
And I'm
ripped
not
off or
saying that
duped.
I'm doing the production. I'm like, I have a team, or I'm a part of a team, or something like that I say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not taking full credit. It's like, no, Scott's your man.
Because then someone's going to come to you with a question you can't answer someday. And that's it's going to blow your cover.
I just tell people I don't know. I don't know. I don't care to know. So here's the person that knows that. Now ask me something else. Boom. I'm all over that.
But that's 100% because you're not pretending. And that's my biggest thing, is like, do not pretend to, like, don't try to run a marathon if you've never even run a mile. Don't sell something you have never successfully done. Use yourself as a case study, build yourself up. And then if you are still not comfortable, maybe do a little bit of free work so that you can round out your portfolio. Like, if all I did was male voices, like male podcasts, maybe I would want to take on a free woman's podcast for a little bit, just so that I would have it in my repertoire, so that if a woman came to me, I could show them someone who is a woman and show them what we could do to a woman's voice.
Right.
I'd round out my portfolio that way. Sure. Would I have to offer free work forever? No. Just a couple episodes or a season or whatever I felt like. But then I would have that leg to stand on. So if a woman came up to me and said, have you ever produced a podcast for women? I could say, yeah, absolutely.
But you know what? The person, even if you I'm thinking back now, if you gave the person all of your stuff, they still wouldn't have but a tip of the iceberg, because they wouldn't be able to explain stats properly. They wouldn't be able to listen to the audio and coach the person on how to better the podcast. They wouldn't understand the dynamics between the type of music to use in an intro and outro, and how that affects mood. Because I pick my own, but it's because of mood, and I'm pretty sure you all can do that as well. And what else is there? How to improve on it, how to increase your stats, how to find guests, how to build rapport. I mean, like, all of the stuff that goes into podcasting, when you look at it as a real thing and you're not just bullshitting about it.
Yeah. And that's my entire point is, like, if you've never been a podcast host, if you've never signed up for a Libsyn account yourself, if you've never sat down with Zoom to record, if you've never hooked up a mic yourself, if you've never dealt with the tech failures, if you've never dealt with iTunes submissions, if you've never dealt with, you know, like you said, the metrics and stats, like, as a podcaster, as someone who sets up their own, you don't have the ability to take the training wheels off your bike. You can't
because
go sell this.
even looking at how I set up the Veteran Woman podcast and how I set up TrepTECH was two different things or two different ways, avenues. So like when you mentioned Libsyn, I was like, I have no idea how to set up a podcast in a regular way.
And I
like regular people.
And I was able to tell you, don't worry about it. We got you covered.
Right. And then I learned more about it. But I tell people in a heartbeat, this is the platform that I use for the Veteran Woman podcast. And this is what I like about it. However, yes, the investment is this much each month, but you don't have to go that route. That was just the route I chose to go because of XYZ. And with the TrepTECH podcast, it's on Libsyn, but all of it has different marketing reasons too.
Yeah.
So that again goes back into knowing your core message, who you're trying to reach, how you're trying to reach them.
And let's not even pretend here for just a second. Like, you were not comfortable charging people for a very long time because you did not feel like you were good enough yet, like you had enough of a portfolio yet, like you had enough of a pull yet. And when I started looking at what you do and when I started crunching numbers, like you've got a 10 grand service that you could offer people, like a 10 grand service. And that's low end, by the way, already built and established in the Veteran Woman brand. Like if you were to give someone that cookie cutter brand with their stuff on it, if you were to do that exact thing for someone else, that's 10, 15K easy. And
you know, I did it from the heart. I didn't realize how valuable that was, building an online brand. It's just something for me that happened because of my circumstances.
And your sales call would be as simple as, here's the Veteran Woman, here's everything that went into it. I could do that for you because you have the fucking case study.
And you know, when I was pitching, when I was doing the competitive pitching to that person, they could tell I was getting frustrated. She was like, you're getting frustrated. I said, I am. Because I've been doing this shit for 2 decades and I'm good at it and I continuously learn. And then this joker is up here just talking out his ass. But that was a lesson for me. But that was the lesson for me. I was like, damn, I really do know what I'm doing. And I do it with integrity. I need to stop playing small. That was my lesson out of that.
Well, yeah, and that's my point. Is like if someone who has 2 decades worth of experience, has a very solid brand that's getting them tagged in everything, like people know you as the Veteran Woman now. You're the Veteran Woman to me. My stepdad knows you as the Veteran Woman, for God's sakes. Okay, like you are the Veteran Woman.
Canada.
You had a conversation with my mom, and my mom was like, was that Airial, the Veteran Woman? Yes, Mom, that's who that was. Okay.
Aww.
So like when I think of that, you were still afraid to charge people. So I know we've got 2 camps of people listening to this, probably 3. Camp 1 is, I've been doing this, but I'm still afraid to charge, but I've got a really nice portfolio. Learn your worth, charge your worth. Camp 2 is, I've got a portfolio, I'm comfortable charging, I'm good. Okay, good for you. Keep going, keep learning, keep getting better, up your prices. Camp 3 is, I am a this expert, a that expert, a this expert. I can offer you this, I can offer you that, I can offer you everything under the sun. I don't even know what I offer because I offer too many things and I have done none of it. Pick something, do it really well, build a case study, stop talking out of your ass, offer it to someone who needs it, and do not dupe them. Deliver it, shine. Deliver it with 6,000 bows on it, absolutely beautiful. Deliver it. If you sell it for $500 to that person, deliver $10,000 worth of fucking goods. And that person will sing your song so damn loud that the next person who comes along, you'll be able to actually charge them a higher price. My point is, you cannot sell something you have never done. So if you are in camp 3, pick something, finesse the fuck out of it, and then sell it. And then if you want to offer additional services, either expand from your area of expertise or hire Jessies and Jacquelines and Airials to round you out. That's why I have a team. I don't know web dev. I don't know how to write. Like, come on. Like, it's not that hard. It's just, it frustrates me. I'm so
that was a nice little rant, but your rants are so different. They're like,
I'm just
step 1.
I'm sure you can tell I'm tired of non-professionals going out there and hurting people.
Yes, and that's one reason. That's how I got into entrepreneurship coaching, because I had people coming to me asking how to build a brand and how I built the Veteran Woman. And then people knew that that was something I did in the military too. And it's something I love doing. And at first I was like, I can't be a business coach to anybody. And then I was like, yes, I can. I can offer what I've learned. And from my perspective, the ins and outs and stuff, because I do know more than a lot of people know. And some people need to know that knowledge, to have that knowledge, want that knowledge. And then also I had people come to me, they hired somebody for a website or whatever. They paid so much amount of money and didn't get anything. And I'm like, no. And for whatever the price was, what were they offering you? Because I have the experience in it, I can say, yes, this website is worth $3,500. No, this website is not worth $250. $250 is way too low, so they're going to do a poor job. Or yes, $250 is low. However, they're learning, so that's why it's low. But they put out some badass work. I mean, just different things like that.
Yeah.
And then after hearing stories after stories like that, I got pissed, and I was like, no more of this. No more of this. If you don't know what you're doing, just come to me, and I will handle the project, because I don't want you getting duped.
Look, I've paid out my asshole for websites that were not worth it. And then I come to you and offer and pitch you the same type of website, and you charge next to nothing because, truth be told, it took you 15 minutes on a Sunday evening, while you were like, nah, it took absolutely no time at all. But this is, what it's valued at, because it's not about the time it took me. It's about the time it saves you. And I'm cool with it. I'm like, hey, no problem. It took you 15 minutes, but it saved me 15 hours of work. Here, shut up and take my money, right? And so that's the thing. Is like, I've been ripped off. People in my circle have been ripped off. Some of my clients have been ripped off by other people. I'm done contributing to the problem. If you are a wantrepreneur, work on your shit until you're real. Stop pretending you're bigger than you are. If you haven't done it, don't sell it. I think we have a title for this one.
Yes, that's it.
Do you have any other thoughts, feelings, stories you want to share before we close this one out, or have we beat this point to death?
I think we beat this horse to death. And if they don't get it by now, they're not going to get it.
Meanwhile, if you have done something amazing and you are amazing at it and you own it and you're phenomenal and you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if someone were to buy it from you, you would deliver and make everyone who is involved in the process feel good, let us know. We want to know what you are stellar at, what you're amazing at, what you can offer beyond the shadow of a doubt that is top tier quality, because you never know. We might be able to refer you some business. Or if you have some horror stories, we'd like to hear those too. So if you want to reach out to us, check out the show notes. You'll get all of our links inside the show notes. And you know what? Just if you haven't done it, don't sell it. Much love, much respect. This has been the TrepTECH podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Airial, thank you so much.
Love ya.
Thank you for tuning in to the TrepTECH podcast. But if you like what you heard, go on to Apple Podcast and bring her a 5-star review. And also, if you want to check out her service while she transforms mindsets, navigating entrepreneurship, leveraging technology, building relationships while bridging the gap in your business, check out TrepTECHacademy.com. That's TrepTECHacademy.com.